Good morning, and welcome to First Parish in Brookline. Welcome back, whether you've been coming for decades or just joined us. And a very warm welcome to those who are here for the first time. We are so glad you're here with us today. I'm Carla Baer, and I'm one of the worship associates here at First Parish. Our senior minister is Reverend Lisa Perry Wood. First Parish is a welcoming Unitarian Universalist congregation, open and affirming of all people. Whoever you are, whatever your gifts may be, however you identify your gender or sexual orientation, wherever your life or faith journey has taken you, whether your heart is filled with joy or weighed down by sorrow, you are welcome here. If this is your first time visiting us or you've not done so before, please take a moment to fill out one of the yellow visitor cards that you'll find in the clear plastic envelopes on the backs of the pews, and put it in the offering plate as it comes around later in the service. After the service, everyone is warmly invited to join us for conversation and refreshments through this door to Lion Chapel. We encourage both newcomers and long-timers to pick up one of our striped mugs at coffee hour to signal particular interest in sharing conversation with others you may not know or know well. Welcome, one and all.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. Our call to worship is by Mary Oliver, who has been called the patron saint of Unitarian Universalism. This is Wild Geese. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert, repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscape, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over again announcing your place in the family of things. Come, my friends, come into this beloved and sacred space and let us worship together. And now please rise as you are willing and able and join in singing our opening hymn, Wake Now My Senses. We'll sing verses 1, 3, and 4.
Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being all. Keeps it all creation profound. Giving, receiving as the
At this time, I would like to invite Adam, Kim, Audrey, and Henry Wilson to come forward to light the chalice, symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith the world over. As they light the chalice, please join me in our unison affirmation printed in your order of service in English and then in Spanish. We give ourselves one unto another, covenanting to walk together as a congregation, promising faithfully to watch over one another and to delight for love to abide in our midst. Nos entregamos y nos comprometemos caminando juntos como congregación, prometiendo con mucha fe cuidarnos mutuamente y deleitarnos en el amor que permanecerá entre nosotros. Each week, we also light 2 candles of peace, each candle representing a different place on earth that we want to lift up and remember this morning as a sacred encounter with the world. There are untold numbers of places on earth that need peace. Today, we remember 2 that we especially hold close in this service and through the week ahead. After each of the candles is lit, we will speak the words for peace in English, Arabic, and Hebrew. Peace, salam, shalom. Our first candle is lit for Washington, D.C., where this week, Sharice Davids and Deb Haaland became the first Native American women elected in the House of Representatives. May their presence in the halls of Congress help us dismantle the stereotypes and racism that have, for so long, made too many of our Native American sisters outsiders in their own land. Amen. Peace, salam, shalom. Our second candle is lit for our national parks, where waste is piling up, historic sites and animals are becoming endangered due to the lingering government shutdown. May this crisis be rapidly resolved and the peace, health, and beauty of our parks and their treasures be restored. Peace, salam, shalom. And we have a special candle this morning, and I'd like to invite Laura Walters, Ann Gilmore, and Tanya Ehrlich to come up now to light it.
Good morning. I'm Ann Gilmore, and today we light a candle of gratitude for our congregation's support of Beyond, the Boston Immigration Justice Accompaniment Network. A crucial part of accompaniment is paying bond to free our neighbors from detention so that they can reunite with their families and communicate freely with lawyers to pursue their legal rights. First Parish in Brookline was one of the first faith communities that the Beyond Network reached out to this fall to help fundraise for the Bond Fund. We're so grateful to Reverend Lisa, to our parish board, especially Laura Hatfield, whose generous contribution inspired much of this campaign, to our Immigration Justice Committee, especially Ellen Blaney and Tanya Ehrlich, all of whom enthusiastically embraced and committed to this fundraising effort. We launched this campaign at a worship service on October 14th and raised nearly $10,000 that day. We continued our campaign to raise funds through the end of the year, and I'm happy to report that we raised a total of $33,348. Our commitment to this effort can be measured not only by the dollar amounts of the contributions, but by the large number of people and households who contributed to this effort. We are so grateful to all of you who participated, and helped us do together what we could not have done alone. We will be serving cake at Hospitality Hour, and you are all invited.
Now I'd like to invite the children to come forward for our time for all ages.
Bring your coats up with you, please.
What was that? Oh, did they hear that? I think you better say it again.
Coats. Make sure you have your coat.
Bring your coat.
All right, coats. Bring your coat with you. Thank you.
Let's turn where the paper clips are. They're still coming. Come on up. There's still plenty of places to sit. Good morning, everybody. Everyone have a good school vacation, break? Yeah, that's good. Me too. Me too. This morning, we are talking about belonging. Whether you belong to something, where you feel like you belong where you are or who you're with. Does everyone have that feeling sometimes of not quite belonging? Anybody have that feeling of not quite belonging, maybe in your classroom or with a group of people? You'd like to be their friends, but you can't quite get in there. Has that ever happened to anybody? One or two? Yeah. So this is a story about a fruit bat, and her name is Stella Luna. How many people have heard this story before? Yeah, I figured. That's all right. I bet there's a lot of grown-ups who haven't heard it, so this will be good. So Stella Luna, my volume is low. I don't know if I can do anything about that. Is that better? Oh, okay. Thank you for saying that. So this is Stella Luna. She is a fruit bat, and she lived in a forest far, far away from here. And Stella Luna lived with her mother and other fruit bats. She was very tiny then. And one day, her mother was flying with her, holding her, flying at night, looking for fruit, because that's when bats hunt. They hunt at night. Flying and flying, looking for fruit. And suddenly, an owl swooped down and darted at them and scared the mother so much that she dropped Stella Luna. And Stella Luna dropped right into a bird's nest. And of course, baby birds were very surprised. Well, she landed head first, and she wasn't really sure where she was or what was going on. So she crawled out of the nest and she hid to see what would happen. That just in a couple of hours, the mother bird came back and she started feeding the baby birds. And Stella Luna could hear that the baby birds were being fed. And she was hungry, very, very hungry. She waited and she waited, but finally she couldn't wait anymore. And so she hopped into the nest and she opened up her mouth, and into it was placed a big, fat, green grasshopper. Now, do fruit bats eat grasshoppers? No. So it wasn't very tasty to her. It was kind of crunchy instead of sweet and soft, but she was so hungry she ate it anyway. And she stayed with the birds, and she learned to eat what the birds ate, which was what? Bugs and what else? Worms, exactly. But she had to eat. She was hungry. And so the birds started to learn to fly. And, before that, I forgot one part. The mother bird said to her, because Stella Luna was used to sleeping, hanging by a branch with her feet upside down. And the mother bird said, no, no, no. You have to be like the other birds. And birds sleep in the nest at night, and they sleep sitting up. So she had to learn to do that, to be like the other birds. And so bats are asleep during the day and are awake at night, but because she was being a bird, she had to sleep at night and be awake during the day. So now all the birds learned to fly, And Stella Luna, of course, was flying with them. And Stella Luna enjoyed flying so much. She just kept flying and flying and flying and flying till finally she got really tired. And so she clung to a branch upside down. Well, this shows her with other bats, but first she was just by herself, clinging to the branch upside down. But she was clinging by her fingers because she knew she wasn't supposed to hang upside down. Well, pretty soon, some other bats came flying along, and they said, "You're not supposed to be clinging by your fingers. You're supposed to be clinging upside down." And so they turned her around so she was clinging upside down with them. She told them how she had escaped from the owl and how she'd lived with the birds and she'd learned to eat bugs and worms. Ew, they were so disgusted. Not fruit, no fruit, she said. I had no fruit. And then she said, and before that, the way that happened was I was flying with my mother, and an owl swooped down and knocked me out of her wings. And one of the bats said, "Oh, you got attacked by an owl? You're my baby. I'm your mother." So she found her mother. That was a pretty wonderful thing. So her mother said, "Come with me. It's nighttime now. We'll fly and we'll eat fruit." And the first thing they found was a big, ripe mango. And Stella Luna ate that whole mango all by herself. She was so happy to have fruit again. Does anyone else like mango? Yes, me too. Oh, a lot of people do. So she was flying in the dark, and she was eating mango, and she said, "I will never eat another bug." But she missed her bird family, and so she went back to visit them. And she told them all the things that had been happening, so wonderful, that she was flying at night, that she was eating fruit, that she was hanging upside down. And they said, "Well, we want to try all of that." And so she got them to start to fly with her at night, but could they see at night? No. And so they couldn't really go. And that was a disappointment. And she said, "I wish that you could see in the dark." And they said, "We wish that you could land on your feet." But they were different. So then they said, "How is it that we can be so different and feel so much alike? How is it that we can feel so different and be so much alike?" That's true of all of us, right? We feel different, but in some ways we're alike. We look different, but we have some of the same feelings. It's a mystery, they said. But the one thing they all knew, this is a lovely picture, the one thing that they all knew is that they were still friends. And that is our story for today, and now we'll sing you out to your classes. Thank you. Peace, so now in peace, may the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere. I'm doing the prayer, right? Am I right? Please join me as we enter into a short meditation, which will end with a prayer. Begin by closing your eyes or casting them downward if that's more comfortable. And let's start by taking some slow, deep breaths together. Maybe for a count of 4 in, and a count of 4 out. In and out. And one more. In
and out. Now just scan your body. Notice any places that you might be holding tension or worry or pain or tightness. And breathe into those places right now, sending them healing, sending them light, sending them love. Just take your time and keep breathing slowly. And now picture or think of someone you really love, someone that's easy for you to love. Just choose one person and hold them in front of you in your imagination. Now send that person some healing, light, and love. Just the best that you can. Imagine that you can bathe them with the light of your love. And now choose someone that you might find it hard to love. Not the hardest one, but someone who's a bit challenging. Could be a neighbor, a coworker or supervisor, a friend or family member. Picture them, hold them in your thoughts. And then send them some of your light and love. Wish them well. You might smile a little as you do this. It will help. And finally, breathe that healing light and love into your own heart, bathing yourself in the glow of your own love. And know that you deserve to be loved like this every moment of every day. Know that you belong everywhere. Spirit of life, hold each beloved person in this space in your light and healing love. May all have deep peace and freedom from fear or worry. May all feel strength and calm in body, mind, and spirit. And may all truly know that they are treasured, holy, worthy, and deserving of love this day and every day. Amen. And blessed be. We'll end with a moment of silence.
Thank you. These are the words of poet John O'Donohue. Each one of us journeys alone to this world, and it is our nature to seek out belonging. Each of us carries a unique world within our hearts. Each soul is a different shape. No one feels your life as you do. No one experiences things the way you do. Your life is a totally unique story, and only you really know it from within. No one knows what your experience is like. The experience of each of us is opaque and inaccessible to outsiders. Yet no individual is sealed off or hermetically self-enclosed. Though each soul is individual and unique, by its very nature, the soul cannot cut itself off from the world. The deepest nature of the soul is relationship. So it is your soul that longs to belong. It is also your soul that makes all belonging possible. No soul is private or merely mortal. As well as being the vital principle of your individual life, your soul is also ancient and eternal and weaves you into the great tapestry of spirit that connects everything everywhere. There is a lovely balance at the heart of our nature. Each of us is utterly unique, and yet we live in the most intimate kinship with everyone and everything else. Its more profound intention is that awakening of the great belonging which embraces everything. Our hunger is to belong, is the desire to awaken this hidden affinity. Then we know that we are not outsiders, cut off from everything, but rather participants at the very heart of creation. The offering for First Parish in Brookline will now be gratefully received. If you are visiting First Parish for the first time today, please feel free to let the basket pass you by. We are so glad to have you with us.
For all that you have given and for all that we have received, we say thank you.
A poem by Derek Walcott. Love after love. The time will come when, with elation, you will greet yourself arriving at your own door, in your own mirror, and each will smile at the other's welcome and say, "Sit here, eat." You will love again the stranger who was yourself. Give wine, give bread, give back your heart to itself, to the stranger who has loved you all your life, whom you ignored for another, who knows you by heart. Take down the love letters from the bookshelf, the photographs, the desperate notes. Peel your own image from the mirror. Sit. Feast on your life.
And now please rise as you are willing and able, and let's join our voices in our hymn of preparation, Draw the Circle.
John O'Donohue, the Irish poet and philosopher whose poem Belonging Carla read earlier, said, "In postmodern culture, there is a deep hunger to belong. An increasing majority of people feel isolated and marginalized. Society is losing the art of fostering community. Consumerism propels us toward the isolation of individualism. Technology pretends to unite us, yet more often than not, all it delivers are simulated images. The global village has no roads or neighbors. From this perspective, it seems we are in the midst of a huge crisis of belonging. I thought a lot about the word belong this week. To belong is a composite word from the Old English to be and longen, meaning to go along with, to be a member of. Pretty much as soon as we're born into this world, there is an urge to be a part or a member of something. We're taken from our mother's bodies, and afterward, we long for as much closeness as we can get from her, from our families, from all humans around us. But as with everything else in our modern society, it's complicated. We don't all have good experiences with closeness, either as young people or as adults. Intellectually, we may know that closeness is a good thing, but emotionally, psychologically, it may be hard for us to get or to stay or even feel close to other people. Still, on some level, even if it's theoretical, we know that it's good to be with others. And that's what drew many of us to this place, this congregation, this community. We all have a lot of different reasons for being here. But at the core of it, we're here to be with other people. We've had mixed experiences of closeness and community, and we bring all of that here with us every week, hoping that this time, in this place, with these people, we'll get it right. It's a lot to ask. And it's also at the core of what a community like ours is all about. Many of us were trained from an early age not to think too much of ourselves, not to be too proud of our accomplishments or our attributes or anything else about ourselves, really. We were taught to act small, to minimize. Many of us were isolated from each other in separate bedrooms or even pitted against each other in school or in sports. Each of us was supposed to make it on our own, be all that we can be, but without leaning on anyone. Now, recently, we've been told to lean in, but not necessarily to lean in together or lean in toward each other. Being part of a church congregation like ours, it's a different kind of experience. We actually become stronger the more we lean in to each other. The more that we depend on each other, the more that we expect of each other. And a side note, I have to say that in this last period of time where we have not had a custodian working here, I have been so pleased to be able to lean on all of you and have us lean on each other to do the work that we need to do to keep this building going. So thank you for that. I read a story this week that I loved about a man who was caught trying to sneak his pet turtle onto an airplane, sandwiched between two large burger buns. When asked why he did it, he said, "I just couldn't stand to be away from him." We all find our closeness in different places, and many of us find it with our beloved pets. But we need each other too, or we wouldn't be here. As I was searching for a children's story about belonging, I came upon a different one that I loved, but I wasn't quite sure how it would go over with the youngest ones. It's called "We Don't Eat Our Classmates." Some of you may know it. It's about Penelope Rex. She's a young Tyrannosaurus who starts going to school with human children. Penelope loves her classmates so much that she eats them. And they are delicious. But then, of course, the teacher makes her spit them back out. It's really not a good way to make an impression or to make new friends. Penelope has to learn not to eat her classmates, who then have a chance to see her good qualities, so eventually she does make friends. It's a very sweet story, really, but it also reminded me of how ruthless and judgmental we can be with each other at any age when it comes to making friends. Looks, clothing, status, speech, and a host of other differences can keep us at arm's length from each other. We're probably not going to be eaten, but we may act that way sometimes. It's easy to think, well, he'll find a friend, or she just needs someone more like herself. But sometimes we are the ones that others want. Are we ready for that? Making sure that there's a place for everyone at the table, that everyone feels fully welcome and can expect to be at the center of it all, that is our ideal. That's what makes us stronger and healthier and more ready to do the work of caring for each other, for the earth, and setting things right in the world. But it is counterintuitive. It is countercultural. In many ways, we are bucking the norm every time we come into this place. And that means each one of us has to fight the urge that we have to cluster where it's comfortable when we're here, to hang with people who we know, to talk only to those who look approachable or look like us. That includes people who are older or younger than us, people who look or dress or act differently, maybe even people whose faces don't relax into smiling easily. We have to go up against all of that. Because there's something else. We also need to recognize our own significance. To welcome everyone, to include them in belonging to us, we'll have to understand and recognize that our presence, our engagement with others, our reaching out is significant, that it is meaningful, that we matter. And again, that is absolutely countercultural. In order for us to live in this country with a government like the current one, we have to be made to feel small, dependent, and powerless. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate, it is that we are powerful beyond measure, says Marianne Williamson. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? We are all meant to shine as children do, she says. It is not just in some of us, it is in everyone. I read something lovely in the Brookline tab this week. Some of you may have seen it too. It included a picture of our own Barbara Simonetti knitting with a group of Brookline women as part of a project called Welcome Blanket, which provides hand-knitted blankets to welcome new immigrants. Their original goal was 2,000 miles of knitted blankets, and they have now surpassed that goal and are still going strong. Talk about a warm welcome. It's one very sweet way of showing people that they belong right here with us in this country. Here at First Parish, we had a new members and friends breakfast this morning, which was delightful, but I did wonder if we might even be more welcoming if more folks who are already members had attended that breakfast. What more could each of us do to make newcomers feel a part of things, that this is their place too, that they already belong, just as much as the parishioner who has been here 20 years or 10 or 5? That was one of the discussions that arose from the deep conversations we had in December. What does it mean to be a member? How do we think about and value and codify membership? How can we make membership something that we all value, but that does not become a barrier to participation? How can we include everyone if we have something called membership? Are some people in and others out? These are all good questions to ask, and I suspect that we'll be talking more about them next month at our New Member Sunday and be exploring the rest of this year and into the future. Welcoming and belonging is something we need to keep figuring out together. One more animal story. A woman is at home when a dog walks into her house, into her living room, lies down on the couch, and falls asleep, sleeps for an hour, and then gets up and walks back out of the house again. This happens for 2 more days, and the woman understandably becomes curious. So she ties a note to the dog's collar while he's sleeping. And the note says, "This dog keeps coming into my house and napping on my couch. Is everything okay?" The next day, the dog is back, and there is a new note tied to the dog's collar. And it says, "This dog lives with 3 young, very active children. He needs a rest. Can I come over tomorrow?" Some of us, those who are dogs anyway, just know that we belong everywhere. The thing is, to truly be able to welcome everyone into the center of everything really means welcoming them into the center of our hearts. And to do that, to really do that, we first have to be able to welcome ourselves into the center. And surprisingly, that can be even more difficult. Author and speaker Brené Brown says, "Because true belonging only happens when we present our authentic, imperfect selves to the world, our sense of belonging can never be greater than our sense of self-acceptance." Let me just say that again. Our sense of belonging can never be greater than our level of self-acceptance. Yet many of us feel undeserving of our own love, afraid to love ourselves the way we truly deserve to be loved. Maybe because we weren't loved the way we should have been by a parent, a lover, a partner, by friends, siblings, people we looked up to, people whose approval we hoped for. But real love and approval, deep acceptance and embrace, the kind we really need most, is the love we give to ourselves. In the next couple of weeks, we'll be welcoming a new long-term rental into our building on Sunday afternoons from 2 to 6 p.m. all year round. The Boston Sai Center are followers of the Indian spiritual teacher Sai Baba, whose teachings about love and service to humanity mirror our most closely held UU values. Sai Baba's mottos are love all, serve all, and help ever, hurt never. It just so happens that Rajini and Vijay Santatam, Lexington friends of our family, are members of the Sai Center community, an especially happy coincidence for Zoe and me. Many of us here at First Parish might not end up having very much connection with this group, though some Sai Center representatives will be introduced in a worship service in the coming weeks, and we'll have a joint coffee hour to greet their members in the next month or so. We will also always be welcome to join their opening, chanting, singing, and talk on Sundays at 3:30. Carla and I have done that already, and we can highly recommend the experience. Their welcome is real. What a wonderful way for us to practice deeply and wholeheartedly welcoming those with a spiritual practice and traditions very different from our own. The Boston Sai Center considers First Parish their new home, and they're eager to join us in service projects, youth programming, or other joint ventures. There is great potential for this to be a beautiful spiritual partnership. When we encounter someone like the Dalai Lama or Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh or Sai Baba, whose picture hangs prominently at the Sai Center gatherings, anyone who appears completely peaceful and content with themselves, beaming love to all around them, you can pretty well guarantee that they love themselves too. Not that they never make mistakes, not that they think that they are perfect, but that they have accepted and loved themselves just exactly as they are. And that is not only bringing them perfect peace, it is also bringing them closer to others and bringing others closer to them. And isn't that what we all really want? What we truly and deeply have wanted ever since we were very young children? Look at a tiny infant. As far as they are concerned, they are perfect, the world is perfect, as long as their mother is close to them and they are warm, fed, and held. Sadly, that's not a list of requirements all infants can depend upon, however much we all agree that they deserve them. If those requirements for feeling safe and loved and at the center of things are not met, then the list becomes longer and longer and harder to meet. In order to repair any damage, we are going to need to backtrack. To simplify that list, we're going to need to love what we have, which is ourselves as we are, and each other, which is actually quite a lot. I've been reading David Sedaris' new book, Calypso, in which he talks about his own family, about his 6 siblings, including Tiffany, who died by suicide. Understandably, he and his other siblings spent a lot of time trying to figure out what happened and why. Tiffany had been in and out of the family a lot over the years, forging alliances with one or another sibling at different times, as those of us in big families tend to do. One day, landing at their father's house or on family vacations with outlandish gear, hurling professional-grade insults, he says. And Sedaris says, one day she'd throw a dish at you, and the next day she'd create a mosaic out of its shards. But what stood out for me, what Sedaris said, is how little Tiffany thought of herself, how insignificant and unimportant she believed she was to her big family, to other people, to the world, and at the same time, how absolutely devastated her family was by her loss. We'll talk more about mental health and illness and its consequences in February, but one thing, sadly, you could say about Tiffany and others like her is that she was her own worst enemy, when ideally we should be our own best friends. Beloveds, I love all of you. I hope you know that. I hope you feel it. I don't say it lightly. Loving you is actually not hard, and truly, it makes my life better. I can promise you that. But no matter how much I love you, or your partner, lover, friend, parent, child, or sibling loves you, it will not matter. It will not even make a dent in how you feel if you don't find a way to love yourself. For the past few years, regular meditation practice in the Buddhist tradition has been giving me a way to do that. Beginning in March, I'm going to launch a weekly Buddhist meditation and study group here at First Parish for 8 weeks for those who'd like to explore this path further. But there are many paths to learning to love ourselves. If you feel lost or confused or in need of guidance, please don't just tough it out alone the American way. Let's leave that model behind us. Please come see me or find someone to talk to. Know that you belong. This is your place, whoever you are, however you found yourself here. If this is your first day, your first week or month, if it just feels like it, know that you are loved and wanted right here at the center of everything. Be well, my beloveds. Stay close and connected to each other and to yourselves today and every day. Amen. Blessed be. And now, please rise as you are willing and able and join in singing our closing hymn, number 1017, Building a New Way. We'll sing verses 1, 3, and 4.
As Reverend Lisa extinguishes the chalice, please join me in our unison affirmation. We extinguish the flame and not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry with us and offer as gifts unto the world. Please take the hand of someone near you for the benediction.
Our closing words are from Susan Carlson. I'll start again. Our closing words are from Susan Carlson. We leave blessed by our connections to one another, to the spirit of life. Walk lightly that you see the light that is below your feet. Spread your arms as if you had wings and could dance